before.
It's always nice if you start early.
Yeah, when it's just 1 minute too early is perfect, so the people do not see always all the loading stuff, and I also can close the window. Loud. It's loud here. We want to talk about Power BI
Yes.
and Fabric.
And Fabric. And like the last time you did the speakers talk where nearly no Power BI was mentioned at all.
Yeah. It was the AI thinkers talk, actually, and AI will kill us all, and all the BI tools are not necessary anymore. It's everything AI now. So I think it should be very depressive now. Okay.
It's okay. It's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm still. Yes, we're streaming now, and yeah. So yeah, our idea. Hello and welcome everyone who's seeing us. It's quite a late Friday late in Europe, but it's quite early in the morning in the US, and it's evening in Asia, like India. So in East Asia, it's even later. So, and Australia, sorry for that. And I don't know how many. Yeah, maybe Reza will watch us.
It's the next day.
Yeah. Will be recorded. Yeah, and I think we can never talk too much about Power BI and Fabric. And as I was on vacation there. Oh, we still need to change the logo. It's not the Thinkers Talk, it's a recap. We have the recap logo, yes. Awesome. Yeah, so recap, it's I think the idea, so one of the ideas was like to share our internal discussions about interesting stuff we have in projects, and so we can learn together. And if I want to ask you anyway about some calculation group stuff, then we can just do it live, and maybe someone else will also find it interesting. And as I was on vacation most of July, you can speak
the
more.
idea was also to start with something in English. So
Yeah.
because all our formats for now are in German, and because a lot of the international community is mainly in English, therefore we said, okay, maybe it's good to have also one format where we dedicated something in English and say, okay, we present some of our content also in English and have a discussion with people from around the world.
Yeah, and we will try to do it on every first Friday in every month. Let's see if it will work out, or if we have to switch. But it's a goal, and we will definitely do it for some times. And when after 6 sessions we notice, oh, nobody's watching, then we may cry.
Then we learn something, practice our English.
Okay. Yeah, at least we practiced our English then.
And how to present some topics we did in the last months. Yeah.
Okay, and today you start with some interesting topic about calculation groups. I already see the screen, and I can bring it to the screen so everyone can see it.
One second. So actually, recently I played around a little bit with calculation groups in a project. So what was the task? The task was to get different KPIs and always get the prior year for the KPI and get the comparison. So a typical financial task, but the calculation of the measures was done in Power BI. So we had no measure dimension. We had some kind of a lot of different calculations done in Power BI. A little bit like this. So I see DB percentage, cost, and so on. It was more about typical financial things like EBIT, EBITDA, and something like this. And it was calculated in the data model because we couldn't derive it directly from the the data mart, so we have to calculate it in the data model, and therefore we introduce some kind of calculation group. Because with the calculation group, you can say, okay, is this, and this provides us the structure. Let's have a look in a new page what I mean. I clearly prepared this before. So you see here my KPI measure group. And I really like the way that you now can also introduce the measure groups in Power BI directly, that you don't have to use external tools anymore, that you can say, okay, I can bring in calculation groups in Power BI Desktop. And there's also another big advantage to mention. Andrea, she said, I just sneak in one calculation group to get rid of all the implicit measures.
Yeah. I even in one project, I was very hard criticized for this, for introducing like a calculation group and then disabling all the implicit measures. And then someone told me, no, I heard somewhere, I heard you don't have to, don't need to create so much measures. We need to pre-calculate everything in Power Query and then use implicit measures. So it's a lot of problematic
Okay.
stuff out there. Okay.
So
I don't know if we should curse here.
So if you go for the calculation groups, the interesting thing is the calculation groups you can also see from a table perspective. So here you see my calculation groups that I say, okay, I have a revenue, I have cost, I have profit, I have revenue per customer, I have customers, I have average revenue per customer, and here I see the order in which this is appearing later. And how I did create the calculation groups, if I go for model, and if I go for items, so calculation items, I just said, okay, if this is something we introduced with Marcos later, it's a quite interesting thing. I will explain later. But the thing is, we can start with just the, you could start with just the customer is customer and so on. Why we did, if this selected displayed header, then this, I will explain later, because this is something to do with if you want to use a mouse over this stuff.
Okay,
it's a little bit tricky.
It's really tricky, and I still think, okay, if I need a dynamic header, I would still make a measure.
It's a little bit strange.
Okay, yeah.
Anyhow, you see, okay, you have different measures in this calculation group, and if I use this calculation group, KPI Anzeige, you just see nothing. Of course, you just see nothing because there's no measure which could be applied. And something you now can do, you can use some kind of, I would say, proxy measure. So I use this kind display item.
Just to play some.
It's just the thing to get calculated. And if I bring this in, you see everything is calculated for this measure.
So why you don't use just the plain sum of everything? Is this the proxy, or is it?
What you know, the plain sum of everything. This has to do if you want to use it later in a mouse over effect. If you want to use this later in the hover over stuff, then we had to implement this logic, because if you don't implement this logic that you say, okay, if this is like this, then it will override the filter context and will always display the first thing it finds. And this is then always like the actual for this and this. So it's a little bit strange behavior. It makes sense if you think about it, but it's at the first glance, it's a little bit strange. So, okay, now we have like this. You can think also this as a structure. So for financial accounts, you have to calculate in Power BI. And the cool thing is you can clearly order this structure by the audience number. So you can also provide like a sorting order how this should be appear in in a financial statement or something like this. And if you're talking about financial statements, the next thing is, okay, I want to have the variance, the deviations. I want to have the deviation to the prior thing or something like this. And the next step is what you can do, and what is done a lot with calculation groups, that you are using some kind of calculation groups for time intelligence. I would say this is also the most standard way. So I have another calculation group. It's ACPY calculations. If we go back and have a look in this ACPY calculation, and look at the calculations items, you see, okay, the first thing is just the selected measure. The second thing is selected measure minus 1 year. So I will do it a little bit bigger. So just the typical stuff you do a lot of the time with calculation groups, that you say on one side, okay, I want to use a selected measure, and I want to say, okay, I want to have this for the last year. I want to have the different for the actual versus the previous year. I want to have the year to date. I want to have the previous year to date. And at least I want to have the actual year to date versus something from the previous year. And think about, if you use the same approach, you can also bring in the plan. If the plan is like a scenario, you just say, okay, use selected measure and say, calculate keep filters scenario equals plan. So it really depends on your data model, but if the data model has a dimension for plan and actuals, you just can use exactly the same approach and say, okay, I want to have the plan as one of the columns. Yeah, it's getting a little bit crisscross of a lot of logics, and it will getting even more confusing. I promise. Because now I can go. Now I can say, okay, I want to use exactly this logic, and if I using this logic and bringing in one of the KPIs, I just use the revenue. Okay, why is there now only 2 revenues? Because I'm missing the calculation context for the year. So let's bring in the year as a calculation context. If I bring in the year here and say, okay, simple filtering, and say, okay, I just go for 2016. Now everything is filtered for the actual and the budget as it should. And you already can see on the revenue, this number is exactly the same than this number. So here we said you are the revenue in a calculation group. And here we said, okay, we selected the revenue. Okay, next step, we can also combine this both. So here we used like the proxy variable, the proxy measure with calculation item. And here we use the time intelligence, and we used the real measure of the revenue. And now the next step is we can combine it. What does it mean? I just can do the following thing. I just can bring in the actual versus previous. And I can also go and say, okay, I want to use my KPIs, and it does not show anything. So it says, oh, there's an error. And if you go for details, there is no relationship. It says it does not work. And if I use a matrix, it does exactly the same. But now the magic is happening. If I'm using exactly this display item where I say it's 1, it could be 0, it could be everything, and say, okay, it's values, then it's providing me this table where it directly has the structure from above and also shows the actual, the previous year, the AC versus previous, and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So what's
this combination? I already worked with it actually, and
okay?
what is if you want to show only some of it. Does it also work if you want to show only 3 KPIs? Will it be blank rows or will it?
You can do this. You can just
Yeah.
bring in like a filter.
Okay.
So it's
That's
just
cool.
working completely normal.
And also in the columns.
The same.
So just okay.
Yes.
That's cool.
I can just say, okay, I only want to have this. So I really think if you have a big reporting, you can have a lot of flexibility for a matrix where you can say, okay, I want to see this, I want to see this. And this is really something I like. And let's move a step forward. So I just will copy this. And I played around in the recent time a little bit with InfoRiver.
Yeah.
So if you
best
go
to
for
Gopal. It's morning in Texas. Good morning, Gopal.
if you go for InfoRiver, there you can do something really, really interesting. So the first appear is like this. You have the same look and feel. So you can do different things. And if I go for templates, I could use like the typical German IBCS loving template. But at the moment, let's do a different IBCS template. This is looking nice. Okay. But now we have a problem. There's no variance. So I do not have any variance because everything is just this display item. So because it's just one big measure group and I can't have any variance, okay, and I have also the all, so I can deselect this, but this is not the interesting point. The interesting point is coming now. I can click on this, and if I make it bigger, no, this was too big. So let's do it like this. If I click on it, and here you see a lot of different things, and normally if you click on some of these, you can actually add this, and you can also go for set versions, and here you can apply the set versions. No. But actually I can already do this. It's nice. I can say, okay, this is AC minus PY. I can say, okay, it's this. But now I have the problem, it's for all of them. And this is something I do not want to do. I want to have it only for special things. So now it's like for the complete group, I see all these stuff. But if I go for set versions, I can normally let's do it differently. I have to use the column breakdown, but it does not do the column breakdown. I guess I have to enter the code. Hope this will help. If not, I already prepared this. Crazy matrix. So
64 pages.
Yeah, these are all the pages with different things, as you know. I already prepared it, and as you can see, it's exactly the same setup, and something you can then do. I go for full. Something you can then do is here again insert, and you can say set versions, and now you see I can enable this column breakdown. And if I enable this column breakdown, I can assign these items to actuals, previous year, plan, and so on. And if I have this assigned, so if I everything put into the column breakdown in the first bucket, I then easily can say, okay, if I update this, then I easily can say, okay, I can rename it, so no problem at all. But now I can go and say, okay, I want to have a bar chart for the first line. I want to have a variance for the second line, and for the third line, I maybe want to have a waterfall chart. And now it's providing me this split in the different columns for each of the calculation items. And this is really nice because now I can build some kind of really cool analysis and then assign the calculation items to how they should behave.
So this only makes sense with calculation groups, or if you have like something like a measure group table, which is pre-built.
Exactly.
But
and here you can also, as you can see, I brought in some of the hierarchical, some of the dimensions to split it up and split it down. So this was the next step if you're thinking about if someone is using this feature of displaying like a financial table with a calculation group, then he also can displaying the variances and the deviation in this calculation groups with some kind of this table. Because in the normal table, this is missing because you can't assign the single item. So if I go back to the normal table, I have the problem that I can't do something like I want to bring in some different colors. It's really hard because I can't just do data bars and say, okay, and I can't assign the data bars line by line.
You can, with data bars, you cannot do anything else. Yeah. You have to create separate measures. And this is exactly what we do not want, because
a little bit difficult to use. Sorry?
Yeah, it's
you said something.
Okay,
but then I had another idea to say, okay, how does it work with a tooltip? And I just use this for a tooltip. And if I say, okay, go for tooltip, the best translation ever, German tooltip is quick info. And here you see the calc tooltip. And if I'm hovering over, I now see the products. I now see and always if I'm hovering over, now I see the cost for this product. Now I see the customers, and now I see the profit. And here we had a problem. It was not so easy to get the information which measure is actually selected because of this combination of, on the one side, I'm using a calculation group for the measures. On the other side, I'm using a calculation group based on this calculation group. And there was strange behavior. And the strangest behavior were, if I'm hovering over, here I got the right things. I got the previous year. Here I got the actual versus previous year. But the problem was, in the first instance, when I built this, it showed me always the actual. And the reason of this, Marcus was the genius who found out. The reason of this is, if I'm going back to my KPI, I said hard, the KPI is cost. So it says, okay, if you're seeing this KPI, it's always cost. So if you are putting the tooltip in place, then the first thing, if you don't warp this around, if you don't say if selected main, blah, 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 it says you are cost. And it's always showing the measure cost, but it's always showing this measure with the first thing. So always with the actual. And to change this behavior, you have to warp this selected measure name and everything around, that it has the behavior that you can hover over, and now showing the actual year to date, the previous year to date, and now the deviation of both. Yeah, a little bit crazy stuff.
And how do you manage this? And this was because of.
So if we go back, I can I can re-engineer it. So
Or
let's
just
do
show the tooltip page.
let's do
Okay.
like this. If I comment this
Mhm.
out and just use the cost.
Mhm.
So now the German was Kosten, but it means cost. So if I now use the cost and go back on the first page, and if I'm now hovering over products and customer, it works. Profit, it works. Also here you see the change directly between actual and previous year. And now we have a look at cost. You see 1.8 million in the first year, in the actual. You see the same in here. So it's not really working at some point. And this is the problem because it's like fixed at some point with the calculation group. Therefore, we warped it around. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyhow, I guess it's a use case you never
No, I
use.
indeed I used some not the
Yeah,
same
I think
pattern,
you
but
use this.
something like this to make certain values disappear. Like when
Okay.
it has a certain value, then the column disappears. So then you
Yeah.
have to check for blank, and then to make it blank itself in such hierarchies. But it
So
was
the
different.
next
But it's
thing
yeah.
I was thinking about, can I use this to displaying dimensions which are not in my data model? So think about, you have some strange marketing aspects that you say, okay, I want to have everyone older than 50 or younger than 30
Okay.
in all countries with this and this attribute. So that you have like a predefined group, predefined
Next.
by multiple selections,
Mhm.
but you have the problem that another group has partly same propositions, so same attributes. So let's have a look into this. And what I did, and this is something what is really interesting, I said, okay, age bigger than selection, we will see later. Customer which over 2K in revenue, customer older than 55 years, and house owner, just house owner, seniors, and unmarried with no kids. So it's like I built just a sample of different things a customer can has as an attribute from different dimensions. And now you can have a look into how these groups are developed over time, because I now can also do the actual versus previous year as I did before. And now I see, okay, all the groups are developed positively, except the unmarried, no kids in Canada.
Okay.
So
So it's like dynamic, not really dynamic, but it's some buckets not from the data model, and the parameter makes it even dynamic, I think, because one
yes.
of the groups relates to selection. This
So
is
you see
interesting.
the bigger
Yeah.
group
Mhm.
based on this selection. So
But
how
this is just show.
yeah, just ask. What's your question?
I
This
think
is
it has something to do with calculation groups.
yes, of course.
And then you have the measure logic not in the measures, but you have everything in the group.
No, not really. Partly. If I go here to my calculation groups, so the first thing is calculate age bigger than, so here you see I use the selected measure, so I can use every measure, but I say, okay, I filter this selected measure always for the clients which are older than my parameter value.
Okay.
So this is the dynamic selection. the second one, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm using the table of all the customers. So I creating a virtual table. Again, we are in my beloved virtual table things. So I created a virtual table for every customer with the revenue, and then it said, okay, filter the customers to all customers above 2,000 euro revenue. And then I said, okay, filter the customer groups we are showing only to the customers over 2,000 revenue.
Okay, understood.
So this is my group. Easy to do it like 55 plus and house owner. Then I can just use calculate, selected measure, keep filters. This is the easy one. Exactly the same for house owner, senior, and unmarried, no kids. And obviously, between some of the groups, some of the customer are in multiple groups.
Okay, so theoretically, you can have not one parameter, but 5, and then you have one for the ages, one for some income
However,
definitions, and so on and so on. And then you have really like dynamic and overlapping grouping
yeah,
with
and
the
you see it's
calculation.
also filtering by outside. And the cool thing is, some of the groups also can filter from inside the calculation group to outside. However, and
Yeah, okay, some, because the ones who are like calculated quite plainly and not.
so this one also can filter in some cases.
Mhm.
So, for example, if I go really, really small, you see it's filtering
Yeah.
from this one to this one. It does this. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's cool, but it does not doing the following thing. If I doing a little bit more like this, it's not able to say, okay, you see, I implemented a drill through. Please do not break now. It's not able to promote the drill through from the one page to the other page exactly with this group. As you can see, it's a little bit not what it can be, but I can do it for other things. I'm not sure if it is possible for this group. Could be. Yeah, it's possible for this group. And
Okay, so then it's only because the parameter is missing.
yes,
On the other page. And when
so
you
you
make
can
it
create some kind.
invisible and very small and translucent.
Yeah, and here I did the same. So I just did it with I just used the previous year. So say actual versus previous year, and then you can say, okay, I want to have this group again. Details. You can jump and get the details on the group. It's as you can see, some of the filtering is not really nice, but it's I would say it's like a little bit experimental in this case, but anyhow. The thing I tried after this, and it's not working as I thought it should work. Maybe I have to bring up a little bit different solution. I used it to create binnings. So I said, okay, maybe this is a possibility to create a bin and then be able to dynamically filter from the bin to something else. So at the moment, my approach does not work as it should. So if I'm clicking
This
on the
is
bin,
the standard binning feature of Power BI, right?
no, it isn't.
Okay. So because the standard never worked for me.
So because the thing is, it's binned by customers for revenues, but I can't filter to the outside. So I do not get this number when I'm clicking on it. It does not propagate the filter directly to the other graphics. So
Okay. And
I
when you
can
would do
filter from the outside, but I
fake
can't filter
dimensions,
from the inside
okay.
to outside.
Okay.
And Actually, the bins are quite easy. They created like the following things. I hope I called it bin. Yes, I called it bin. And if I go to the Berechnungs-item, histogram. So here you see all the bins, and each bin is basically like this. So you say you use a lower bound, you use an upper bound. Then I summarize the calculation from the fact table. Say, okay, I use the customer key and selected measure, but at this point, it does not filter to any other table. And here you see I filter one, it's larger than the lower bound, and one of the upper bound, but it does not work that I can filter from here to outside visuals. So it works to display it in such a manner that I can say, okay,
because you define the boundaries inside, of course. So it's just dynamic calculated inside of this calculation group, and outside nobody knows about these boundaries. So it's it seems quite logical, but fake dimension would work better here. But
I use the facts.
No, the fake dimension with the binnings. But this is not something we want, like you did in the Pareto example. And
but it's
it's not the thing we want to build.
Yeah, it's right. So the cool thing is, if I go for just the normal chart and get rid of this, no, wrong revenue. And this is something cool. You can yet now also do like doing this running total thing.
So finally you're using this feature.
No, I don't use it. I don't use it. I don't use it. But if you included this running total thing,
okay, then you have the Pareto quite easy.
Theoretically, but does not display it. So this breaks it, I guess.
Oh, the calculation groups.
Yeah, calculation groups does it break. But what is if so? Yeah, you see, it's calculating something.
Yeah, it works as a table. When you change it back to table, maybe there's only some formatting problem in this visual, and therefore it's not showing. Just switch it back to table. Okay, it works.
Yeah.
So then there are some fancy formatting stuff.
If I go for
I think combo charts are not working. I think I read something like this.
Yeah, but combo charts are really helpful for this.
Yeah.
Because then you can build like the real Pareto chart really easy.
Yes.
So
but you can just use two lines or the bars and make them overlap. And
yeah, I know. And if I hide, I don't want to do this. If I hide one of them,
okay, that might.
This is interesting. So the numbers are there, but it does not display it. Nice.
Yeah, it's not all visuals are supported by the visual calculations.
Yeah. So
I was actually not expecting this in such a bar chart, but or stacked column chart. But of course, we don't use it. Only use plain bar charts. Does the plain bar chart work?
It does not work with the calculation item. As with the calculation group.
Try the plain bar chart. Maybe no. This is also stacked. Let's go for one. Yeah, one of this. No, okay. Then only
works for tables.
Yeah, tables are better anyway. Now you can format the bars. No, you cannot. You have to use Infora. Yeah.
Anyhow. Talking about tables, this is something you can show. that now there's one button that you can display everything online as a table.
Oh yeah, I think it's in the service, and I
Yes.
never used it so far.
Okay,
So
but now
nice.
I'm done
Just
with
show.
my experiments
Okay.
on
Oh, you
on
already.
calculation groups.
Okay. Yeah, very, very nice stuff. So do you think like from a business perspective? So I think lots of this is, I think, more for analytical reporting, but very guided version of an analytical report. So something in between a dashboard which has a predefined story and something
Um,
like I export it to Excel and do everything
the
what I want.
first thing actually I can see in a lot of financial reporting, where
Mm,
you do not have the dimension already in your data mart, where you have to
mm,
calculate something, and it's
yeah.
better to bring the calculation to a calculation group than bring the
Mm,
calculation to a tool like Zebra BI or InfoRiver, where the calculation is
mm,
only in the tool. If the
mm,
calculation is in the calculation group, you have one central place, and if someone is connecting to this model, he gets all the calculation and has the structure also as the structure should be, and can just use the
mm,
calculation group, get this financial statement, use the budget, and so on in this calculation group. So I think really this is an approach for financial statements or balance sheets or cash flow statements where you can say, okay, this can be from some praxis relevance.
mm. Okay, yeah, understood. So there is a need, and it's definitely better than like what I've already seen to have some mapping in Excel and then to make composite models just to integrate some other structure that is for some reason not in the data mart,
Yeah.
but the CFO wants it exactly this way
So
and
yeah,
one.
you can build with this approach custom financial statements,
Mm,
because you can bring in
yeah.
dimensional data, you can
Mm,
bring in calculations, and you can bring in any sum, any structure you want into this calculation
yeah.
group. And with the feature, what I've shown in the beginning, you can also bring in the actual versus budget, actual versus plan, because then you just need some kind of dimension for the plan to bring all the calculations to the plan. If there is a
Okay.
plan dimension. If there's no plan dimension, makes no sense.
Okay, but it will not work with the empty rows in the matrix, I think, because it's all the same. It's like only one measure.
Empty rows. I guess
It's a killer feature.
if
It's,
you're using something, I guess if you're using InfoRiver, you can implement empty
yeah, yeah,
rows.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you're
Then
using the
definitely,
normal matrix, I don't know.
because I think I can now I can show something less fancy than you, but it's okay. So
Yes.
the contoso, wait, that's it. And maybe I can find something with a table actually, yes, here. But as you have seen, like show is a table. There was it. But okay,
Yeah,
this
and now there's another button. Go back.
yeah.
Do you have some page with a lot of visuals?
Not sure. I don't think so, to be
Yeah,
honest.
this is good. This is good.
Okay.
And now
Yeah.
go for the for the view where you can say, okay, full screen on the right side,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
and the bottom, no, not full screen.
Okay.
Escape. Go for
Yeah.
the go for the full screen mode, not for the full screen, but for the button, and for the arrow down of the full screen mode,
Mm, here.
and go to the bottom.
Ah. Ah.
And
Okay. This is
if you
a
click on
sneaky
this,
feature. I missed in my update. Okay, so it's smart enough to not convert the slicers.
yes, it's
This is a
converting
good
every
thing.
visual,
This is
but
not
it's not.
like this one
Yeah,
when
no,
you where you can break your slicers.
it's
But
converting every visual, but it's not
mm,
converting
yeah, no,
KPIs, slicer,
yeah,
I guess. So it's converting only all the visuals to
Hmm.
tables automatically.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, not there's no way back.
It
There's
is.
no
It
way.
is.
Okay, it's okay. So,
Yeah,
oh,
but
even this is resetted. This is cool. This is cool. I like it. Do you notice? When I go to table and then I just voluntarily break my slicer to a pie chart
yeah.
table, and then I want to make it back to a slicer, then I obviously have the problem. It's only this kind of slicer. I cannot change it back to buttons
Okay.
because it's yeah, it's so buggy this feature.
And if you
Personalized
okay,
visual. But when I reset, then it goes back to buttons, even if it was not affected by creating
okay,
table.
cool. Yeah,
Okay, cool. This was actually one good stuff. What was the other I wanted to show?
I don't
Did
know.
I? No. Okay. Yeah, at least. Okay. Ah, the empty rows. Ah, of course.
Yes, empty rows.
Yeah. So in a normal matrix, okay, of course you need to go to edit mode, and then okay, it's not a matrix. We need something like more matrix like here, like I'm not actually sure if it will work here, but this is something. Okay, it makes it every time because I only have one of the
Okay, and if you bring
one
in a new
dimension. Yeah, now I will try. What is when I bring the quarter, for example? Okay, it's after
yeah,
the.
yeah.
Oh, wait, but can you really control it? I think so, but I cannot really. Do not really see where I can control this. So I think it's either all the
Okay, and this is
time or
killer
no.
feature.
Lots of financial people wanted it from me, and I even had like some measure with blank just to make this possible.
Oh, actually, you could do this in my approach as well.
Yeah, when
If
it's
if you name, but this problem is you need a name.
uh,
So you can't format each single
yeah,
row separately. So yeah, but
yeah.
it's not so nice.
Okay, yeah, it's not. Killer feature is more like sarcastic stuff, but yeah, this
Stay
is
in
the
Excel.
yeah this when you really want to stay in Excel, you can go to this one, right? No, no, this. I don't really actually know why you should use it, but lots of people love
It's so
this.
crazy. If you want to
Yeah,
really spend a lot of time, try to build
mm,
the perfect table.
yeah,
It's such a waste of time sometimes.
yeah. That's why we like InfoRiver normally, but
Yes, but it's also you can do everything, but it's also hard to use in the
yeah,
sense of you can format everything. But you have actually templates which are better than here. That's true.
this one is like Excel.
Yes.
I'm not using Excel so often, but that's a lie. Everyone's using Excel, often. But but at least yeah, this is Excel. If
Yeah.
if you like it, Uh, but I'm a little bit disappointed. I cannot control the empty rows more. Cannot decide if
Okay.
they will.
That you can't say on which level you want to have
Yeah,
empty rows. Yeah.
I was actually expecting this, but it's only the first, only the top level, I think. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're amazed. But this is the best matrix you've ever seen.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think this fancy stuff. It was good to round it up, and I do not start anything new in the last 10 minutes of a live stream. This is something I have learned, and so it's now the stream for advanced calculation groups, as I would call it, can be rewatched and used as a fantastic tutorial again. And yeah, it was quite fun. I definitely have seen something new. You maybe not so much, but maybe I can show more next time. Let's see.
Okay, goodbye.
Okay, then see you. Have a good weekend and all the best to everyone around here.